When we started LCC Connect in 2022, our aim was to create a podcast platform that connects our college with the community and our community with the college. Now, since then, we've expanded to offer more than 25 podcasts, all of which are hosted by members of Lansing Community College or community activists. Hey, this is Dedelian, General Manager for LCC Connect, and on this episode of Behind the Connection, I'm going to be talking with Kyle Jacob and Dustin Abrego. They've got a new show on the way. It's called Boots to Books. It's a podcast for the veteran and military-connected student. Boots to Books will premiere on LCC Connect, along with most major streaming platforms, on Tuesday, October 1st. Let's get started off by having you guys introduce yourself real quick. Kyle?
Yeah, my name's Kyle Jacob. I am the coordinator for the Center of Veteran and Family Support here at LCC. 4-year Army veteran, jumped out of some airplanes, used 2 different GI Bills to go to school, and now I'm here.
Dustin?
I am Dustin. I'm the academic advisor for military-connected students. I work with all veterans, dependents, and then just in general, I work with students. I've worked at LCC for like 3 years now. I never did serve, but regardless of people's backgrounds and where they come from, I think it's important that they have a good experience, because that's the only way I made it through college, is I had people that were there for me.
Now, I know a little bit of your backstory. You, of course, were an academic advisor. Then when you made that transition, you kind of even just kind of headed towards it right there, is you kind of felt a little bit of reservation about doing it because you never served. Is that still a concern for you at times?
It can be, in the sense that when I meet with a student and they want to make that connection, they're like, what branch were you? And I was like, I actually never served. But regardless, I want to make sure you have a good experience. Previously, I used to work a lot with student athletes. I was never an athlete at all, never did team sports, none of that stuff ever. But their experiences and stuff are still valid. And although that's like a layer of who they are, that's not the only thing that they go by. And it shapes their experience, but it isn't the only experience, because sometimes they want nothing to do with their military background. Sometimes that's the only thing that they want to talk about. And I can connect with them about a lot of stuff. It doesn't give me a hesitation of not serving, because I still know my stuff inside and out, and they're there because they need that from me, which is really great.
And that's great, because you got the knowledge of the resources and everything else that they need to know. And I will say that, like you, I didn't serve either. But on the flip side of the coin, Kyle, you did.
I did.
So how did you become a part of LCC?
I applied for a job. No, but
that's the way it usually works.
So after grad school, I really wanted to get back involved with military-connected students.
Okay.
I worked in the Military Service Center of my undergrad institution as a student worker under VA work study. Went to grad school, worked with student athletes, much like Dustin did, and the similarities between veterans and student athletes was kind of wild, but also they're very different at the same time. You're dealing with, 18, 19-year-old kids and more traditional students with student athletes. And I just really wanted to get back to working with military-connected students after that experience. So I spent all my time job searching for specific jobs dealing with military-connected students, and found LCC, interviewed, and here I am.
Is this the route you originally thought you would be taking like many, many years ago?
No.
Prior to even being in the service?
Not at all. I honestly had no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was a horrible high school student, barely graduated high school. Knew I was going to go into the service, but I originally planned on doing 20 years. And then I got in, and the experience was not for me. So I started, putting together pieces, talked to a lot of friends, a lot of family members during that transition period of, hey, I'm deciding to get out of the military. What's next? I went from everywhere from HVAC to nursing to teaching, finally landed on communications and marketing. Thought that's what I was going to do forever. Hated my marketing internship.
Oh, no.
Had a little bit of an identity crisis, and the director of the Military Service Center, Eric Butekoffer, down at University of Toledo, told me, you're not bad at this job. So decided to go get my master's in higher ed, and it worked out so far.
Very good. And you're now helping other military-connected students as well as families. And one of the things that I love there is you were very open and honest about the fact that you were not a great high school student. And I think that's important for high school students to know. Like to hear that, because I can remember, well, actually, I was a pretty good student, but once I got to college, I was struggling a little bit. Did you feel like the military kind of helped you in that aspect to get more focused?
100%.
Yeah. So it was a positive.
Absolutely.
experience for you.
Yeah. I always tell people it was the most fun I never want to have again. So it was a great time. I met some really good people, and the structure and discipline it gave me was something I really needed. I struggled with as a youth. You know, I was skipping school almost every day when I was in high school, and you don't get that chance when you're in the Army. You miss formation, someone's coming and finding you, and you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, there's no skipping.
There's no skipping. There's no,
No skip days.
So yeah, that honestly, the fear of it, of like repercussions, was what drove me in the military, and then just having that structure around was something I really needed. So yeah, absolutely. And then college was a breeze.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it honestly was.
Yeah,
I mean, it had its struggles. I had some, hiccups and some personal things I went through. But as far as like classes and stuff, I thought it was insanely easy. You just showed up and did the work.
Awesome.
The rest took care of itself.
Awesome.
So,
And of course, Dustin, in your case, I kind of know a little bit of your background because you used to do the show. It was Student Success Scenario at that time. And when we got to talking about this, I specifically told you because I found out you were working where you were and transitioning there. And I was like, I really would like to get a show for veterans and military people on. And you were very awesome at saying, yeah, I'll front the charge. And you did. So let's talk a little bit about your background, because I know you have been very open and honest, especially on Student Success Scenario. You were very open and honest about you weren't always the greatest student either.
I almost failed out of Central twice.
Central Michigan?
where I went. Yeah. I was waitlisted at MSU because I wanted to go there. That's where all my friends went. At Central when I first started, because my high school had a really great radio program. I actually was doing this at a very small FM station in high school. And I was like, I love this. We have a TV station. I was doing like weather, and I was like, oh, cool, I'll do meteorology. That's super hard, like next level calculus 3 and beyond level stuff. And I went in that first class, failed that, almost failed out of Central my first semester. Was like, nope. So then I was like, okay, well, I really like radio and audio, so that's what I was going to do for undergrad. And I was doing that for a while, almost failed out again, had some different things that weren't working out great for me personally. And then during that time, I was a resident assistant in RA. So if you're on campus, you have the people on the floor. I did that for 3 years. I liked that more than any of the classes and stuff I was going to. And my supervisor, who worked in student housing at the time, was like, you could do this as a career, similar to what Kyle said, because I'm a first-gen college student. I think Kyle is as well.
I am. Yep.
Yeah. So not having support from family, but they also they didn't know what direction to point for anything in that way, where people usually rely on family. And they're like, hey, you can do this. And I was like, all right. So I just finished my bachelor's and ended up going to get my master's, knowing that I would go into higher ed. So that's what I wanted to do at that point. But I didn't figure that out until I was 22. I was like very near the finish line. So I'm going to be working midnight shift and the radio grind that you did for a while, right?
Yeah.
Is that what I want to do? And I was like, and streaming platforms are definitely taking off at that point. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'll have a job. And but I love doing this RA
Well, that was very insightful for you, because I went into radio anyway, knowing that it wasn't that great.
Right, yeah.
But I do love what I'm doing now, and it's great to have you guys on board. Before we get to the show, I do want to mention that your department recently went through a name change. You're now called the Center for Veteran and Family Support. Is that right?
Correct.
Why the change? You guys actually hit on this point a little bit in one of the podcasts, so we don't need to get too deep. But I think it's important for people to understand why, because when you talk about it on the podcast, I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we were the Office of Military and Veteran Affairs, and as many people know, there is already a Veteran Affairs, the main VA
With the federal government.
With the federal government, so a lot of people were confusing us with the actual VA, and we're not. So they were coming in off the street with a bunch of questions, and we're like, hey, we're not that. So wanted to cater more towards the student population that we actually serve. Not to say, you can't just walk in off the street and get help, but there's certain things that we can help with, and there's certain things that we have to point you to the actual VA for. Okay. So we wanted to change that name, and we wanted to be a center. Why? I don't know. I wasn't part of that part. But we just wanted to cater more towards the military-connected students and their family members.
I will say that if you say center, it sounds less official than department. So
100%.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Definitely that. So give me a typical day in the life for Kyle. What are you typically doing over at the Center for Veteran and Family Support?
Yeah, so my number one job is the school certifying official, meaning I take the veterans' benefits or the family members' benefits that they earn from their family member service, and I certify that to the VA.
Okay.
So multiple different forms of GI Bill, all of them get certified to the VA. So I'm just basically verifying enrollment, making sure everything's stays the same. If anything changes, report those changes to the VA. That takes up most of my time. And then the other part of it is like student services and student support. We're starting up a student group, Student Veterans of America here. So that takes up a lot of my time trying to plan stuff with that, coordinate with students and coordinate some events that are going to be happening in campus this fall. And just supporting students that walk in and come in and have questions about their benefits and where to go next.
Help them through the process.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I like to say I'm a one-stop shop, but I can't do my job without people like Dustin. Our admissions counselor, Blake, has recently come into the office. He's been an amazing addition.
Great.
So yeah, it's just basically holding their hand through the process and, getting them the right services and making sure they're taken care of.
Makes sense. And Dustin, you aren't too far removed from what you were doing over in academic advising, but what's different about what you're doing now compared to what you were doing then?
Sure.
And maybe elaborate a little bit on what you did so that people understand.
Also, Kyle is completely undercutting. By law, his job has to exist. If we get GI Bill money, just like how certain financial aid, so if he doesn't exist, like veterans can't go here. So his job's a big deal. I know it's kind of like, oh, I have to do this. And it's like, right. But if he does stuff wrong, the government's gonna be like, what are you doing?
Where's your person?
Yeah, it can. So you have to go through audits every few years through the VA, and you can lose. You can lose your accreditation.
Schools
to the
get in
VA.
a lot of trouble.
Yeah, schools can get into a lot of trouble if I do my job wrong. So,
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in one of the podcasts you guys talk a little bit about how another college, we won't name any names, but they did not have a very well staffed veterans center.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's just the case at a lot of places.
By the sound of it, it sounded like the only person they had was the person doing what you do.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a shame.
And that just at a campus that's far bigger than what we have.
And if you do want to find out the college, I believe they actually say it in the podcast.
Yeah, I don't shy away from names.
No, I know you don't. Yeah. All right, let's get back to you, Dustin.
Yeah.
So brief synopsis of what you do, and then what's different that you're finding now compared to what you did.
Sure. So mainly the way I describe to people is I act as a compass. They're the GPS. They're telling me I want to transfer to X school. I want to graduate with this degree. I want this certificate. I want this thing. Sometimes they know. I don't know is always an okay answer with me too. But I'm pointing them in the best general direction because more often than not, they can't necessarily screw it up in their first few semesters as long as they stay on the path. The main thing that I also do, especially with our veterans that can be way more complicated, is if you take classes that are not in your major, financial aid, the GI Bill, scholarship, whoever, they won't pay for it. Oh. So if I just go, yeah, sure, and we have students where they're like, I'm in these classes, why isn't financial aid? And it's like, you never spoke to an advisor, you just kind of picked stuff. Mm-hmm. And so even though you're eligible for a lot of money, they're not going to pay for it. And that's a big change, I think, at least since I've been in undergrad. But especially for veterans, it can be much more complicated because if you're using certain benefits, you have to have one of those be in person. Mm. You can't have all of it online. You can't do things in a certain amount, or they'll only pay up to this rate versus if you're in state versus in district. And I don't work in financial aid, but I know if I just tell people do this stuff, they're going to get ticked and they're going to come back, and that reflects poorly on me, the center, the school. So it's all those little bitty caveats that I help people navigate. And also they've sometimes never been in school, or it's been 30 years. Mm-hmm. So trying to show them that process. The number one thing that I think, regardless, usually it's when I'm working with our veterans because they might be returning after a while, I don't physically put you into classes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You used to be able to do that. Department of Ed is like, hey, that's fraud. Don't do that. Yeah. Like we never got in trouble, but most schools across the country were doing that. So I go, hey, you have to sign up from they're like, well, what do you do? And I was like, I just told you what to take. What do you? That's what I do. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I don't think the military would be too happy with somebody not showing up if they're saying they're going to show up.
Yeah.
Just like we were talking about. There's no skip days. There's no skip days.
No, you don't get that. No.
Both of you, like during the podcast, are like Dustin. You very often will mention that you didn't serve in the military, and you just wanted to be clear. You're very upfront about it. And Kyle, you're very adamant about making sure you're saying that you don't speak up for every branch of the military and or every person in the military, understanding that everybody is their own individual. I think you guys do a great job of that. My question for you, though, is why exactly did you decide you wanted to start this?
I think Dustin should take that one.
Because I was like, Kyle, do this.
Dedalian was pushing.
Kyle, you've never done this before. Do you want to do this? And he's like, sure. And you've been a great sport the whole time.
You've been doing. You both have been doing a great job.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed what you've come up with, and I think people are going to really enjoy this.
I think it can serve a group of people that we went looking for other things, and there are other aspects of offerings. I don't know what there is in Michigan in a format that a younger age range would be available to podcasting or other things or on radio shows and stuff. It's a format that I don't think is really addressed other than go to va.gov. Like I've heard those commercials, but I don't hear other things that are, hey, there's all this stuff. And when I tell people, oh, there's this other money besides VA benefits that you can take advantage of that is free. I mean, you're paying for it, taxes, whatever, but is available. The look of awe and like shock on people's face when I have it, when I'm like, no, it's free. And they're like, and I went, it's okay. It's free. I literally had to say that 3 times yesterday to a student. And like, I don't think that it's broad enough out there. And as someone that hasn't served, I think it's super interesting as well, because it's something I was never exposed to. It's important, but then also they're just other people. And I think people at some point we're going to be interviewing students as well, and like having the stories of those students, because I don't know, they're just normal people, and hearing what they've been through and then also how to navigate college and stuff is just super interesting.
Well, one of the things that I think is interesting is when you guys get to talking a little bit about the transition from going to military into civilian life. It's almost unsettling, it seems like sometimes.
Very much so.
Did you find it yourself a little unsettling?
Yeah, I mean, I remember that drive back. I drove back from Washington to Ohio, where I'm originally from.
Like the state of Washington?
Yeah. I did that drive. It was me and my aunt over a course of 6 days.
Wow.
So a lot of time to think and a lot of time to talk. And I was just so unsure of everything. I remember having some tough conversations with my aunt, and her having to be like, it's going to be okay. Like talking me off a ledge. I thought I made a horrible mistake. I was like, I left this secure thing that I knew I had. All I had to do was not get in trouble, spend 20 years, and I got a retirement. And I retire at 38 years old and have the rest of my life to figure out whatever. So yeah, it was very unsettling. It was nerve-wracking.
Where that would be.
And it was you're leaving something very certain and going into a journey. So yeah.
Well, welcome to life.
Yeah. I mean, I've been out longer than I was in.
Not
at
to
this
say that
point,
the military isn't life, because it is. It's just a different kind.
I could retire in 3 years. That'd be wild. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
All right. So Dustin answered or fielded that last question. So I'm going to throw this one over to you, Kyle. When people listen to the show, what do you hope they take away from it? Other than finding out all these great resources, what are you hoping somebody hears and says, wow?
Yeah, I really hope to kind of destigmatize veterans in a way.
Okay.
I think a lot of people think veterans and they think, crazy, right wing or whatever stigma you have about veterans. Let's destigmatize everything that you think about veterans, because it's not true. They are, veterans represent all walks of life, whether it's, immigration, whether it's people of color, whether it's, white people. It encompasses all identity groups, all social political groups. So yeah, just destigmatizing what veterans are, and then educating the people about what's out there. Because as we talk about in our show, a lot of people don't know what's available to them.
Do you feel like pop culture is kind of part of what, almost gives that image
How much
to
time
us.
you got here today?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely plays a role. You see the action movies, and
Yeah.
everybody thinks that's what it is, and a lot of times it's not. So
I think it's one or the other, because my reference point always, which is not good, it's all pop culture, is it's either the lowest low, it's Lieutenant Dan, no legs Vietnam person, or it's like elite special forces, whatever. It's not like,
yeah, there's no.
so what about
middle
like
ground.
the guy? Where's like Kyle and other people? Like, but my pop culture reference, because I don't know anyone outside of that before starting this role. Like, I feel like that's the only different ways that it goes.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing. It's just you have your stigma, and usually people stick to those stigmas. So
Yeah, makes sense. All right, we're about ready to wrap up, but before we go, I'd like to always give at least one question that gives somebody a perspective of what you're like outside of work. So I'm going to ask you, it's Kyle's day off. What is he doing for the day?
I am going to go put a kayak in a pond or a river or a lake somewhere, and I'm going to fish as long as possible, and then I'm going to get off, clean my fish, and play some guitar.
I like it. I like it. Dustin?
I'm going to do something physically active, running, probably not on the water. I'd probably just lay on the beach on the water, probably. And then I'm probably going to find a place with good craft beer. That's usually what I would go for.
Craft beer is always a good thing, too. Rando question of the day. I don't even know what this is, so here we go. Pirates or ninjas? Pirates or ninjas is the random question of the day. Dustin, over to you.
100% pirates.
Why pirates?
I don't understand that question. What do you mean, why? There is no, like, the peg legs. There's, like, the beard. Like, yeah, you're just steal. R is always an answer to whatever question anyone asks. You can just positive, like, arr. Like,
Kyle, what do you
For a
got?
guy that just said he would lay on the beach, I'm surprised by that answer. I'm going with ninjas all day.
Ninjas?
Stealthy, quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the silent assassin. Yeah, I like it.
That's fair. All right, there you go. Again, the show is Boots to Books. It's going to start Tuesday, October 1st. You can check it out at lccconnect.com or any major streaming platform. Thanks so much, guys, for coming in and talking with me. And thanks so much for keeping this dream alive of LCC Connect and creating this show. I appreciate having you guys on board and looking forward to what you got.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
We've talked about this, about never remembering names, maybe.
That's all right. There's this girl in my apartment complex. Her son feeds my dog treats like every day. I still have no idea what her name is, and she's told me probably 6 times.
Oh.
Very distinct, like, haircut too, and I still
You still can't remember?
can't remember.
Even though she's
It's-
told you 6 times.
Yeah, like, it's bad.
This is LCC Connect.
Voices.
Vibes.
Vision.